Hi, this is Brooke Moriber, singer, songwriter, and actress. You can check out my new EP, Here and Gone, on all major music sites on the web. I am talking with Rabbi Sol Solomon on Dave's Gone By on UNC Radio.
Oh, shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is our old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And you know I love the theater because I interview so many theater people. And you know I love music because I interview so many musical people. Well, we have two wrapped into one, kind of like the double helix here. Her name is Brooke Moriber. She's done half a dozen shows on Broadway. She's done some off-Broadway shows as well. But in recent years, she has also moved into pop and country music. So we're going to listen to her talk, we're going to hear some of her music, and we're going to enjoy the company of songstress and actress Brooke Moriber. Shalom!
Shalom back to you.
Well, how are you? How are you, Brooke?
I'm doing well. I just saw on the website that you recently interviewed my friend
Richard Nelson, the playwright.
The playwright, yes, we did The Dead together.
I asked him when I was talking to him and said, you know, of all the things you're going to turn into a musical, of all the
right, exactly.
you're going to take a James Joyce story, not only that, but something that has dead in the title, and that's going to be a big bouncy musical. Did people tell you that too, or since you were just acting in it, everybody kind of avoided the topic and said, oh, it's going to be great?
It was great, and he did a great job with it.
Well, no, I mean, actually, the producer and host of this radio program, Dave, saw the show and liked it very much. But I'm saying, when you first got the gig and were acting in it, did people ask you and say, of all things, a James Joyce musical, The Dead, da-da, or was everybody going, like, because actors want to be coddled and cocooned and, shall we say, protected from anything negative? What was the feeling about the show while you were doing it?
You know, I think in the theater community, people who know me were used to me doing shows that did not run very long and that were a little strange. So nobody questioned it for me.
Well, to be honest, you were in a play that has gone on, or a musical that has gone on to have quite a life outside Broadway, a show called Parade.
Oh, yes, that's one of my favorites. Well, I'm so proud to have been part of that show.
Yeah, I mean, so it didn't have a long life on Broadway, but since then it's gone on and it's considered a pretty good, serious musical of the late 90s, early aughts, you know?
Absolutely, one of the best, and it's funny because the show closed before it actually won the Tony for Best Music that year. So it was pretty sad for all of us. We were very invested in the show and the message, and I think that it's having such a life now. I think it's going to make a huge comeback at some point.
Well, I hope so, because, as a Jew, it has a Jewish theme. And,
yes, absolutely.
I mean, it has a dead Jewish man at its center. You can't get better than that.
But, you can't get better than that, no.
But you were still basically you were not a child by that point anymore.
Well, teenager, but yeah, late teens, so...
But you were playing younger...
yes, as we all do.
Well, you couldn't play much younger than when you first started on Broadway in Les Mis. I mean, you were 12?
And I was 8.
You were... Oh, my God, you were 8 in Les Mis.
Yes, I was. My first Broadway show, it was my first audition, so it should always be that easy. But, yeah, it was a shock to my system, so exciting and terrifying at the same time, but I was hooked.
And the thing was, you got into Broadway, I think, just by hearing the cast album of Les Mis and your Castles.
Yes, absolutely. My parents had gone to see the show, and they were playing the album with the original girl who was in it, Donna Vivino, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be that girl, I want to do that. I auditioned, and I replaced her, which was crazy.
I can imagine. Oh my... So, let me ask you, what, do you remember what you auditioned with? Was it Castle on a Cloud, or did you do a different...
Yes, it was. I got on my knees, I sang Castle on a Cloud, and I did it for probably 3 or 4 auditions. It was like a 3-month process.
Give up. Well, wait, you wouldn't have had other songs did you do 8 or 16 bars of something else? Or was it always, oh, here comes Castle on the Cloud again?
You know what? It was unusual for an audition. I think if I remember correctly, that's all that they wanted to hear.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Cosette's only song, Little Cosette's only song?
Yeah, she has some dialogue that she sings.
Right, but okay, that makes sense. You've got to make a big impression in those 3 minutes you're doing that number, so they might as well just see how well you do that number. I kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. As an adult, nowadays they kind of give you 25 pages of music to learn, and you don't know which piece they're going to pick, and then you come into the audition, they're like, we'll do the last page. And you're just kind of like, wait, I just spent like 3 weeks learning this whole piece, and you just want the last page. Oh, my God.
So, let me ask, as a child, when you went on, were you nervous, or nerves were never a problem, you were just kind of excited to be there?
Oh my gosh, nerves are always a problem, and anybody who says that they're not is lying, because I still get nervous to this day. I just sang the national anthem at MSG for the Knicks 2 nights ago, and I was just doing my Lamaze breathing beforehand because, it is energy. I kind of like being nervous because, I hate the feeling of it beforehand, but once I start singing, it goes away. But it does energize you. But yes, I was very, very nervous my first performance for Les Miserables. I actually, I almost ran off the stage before Grim went up. I was so scared.
But something in you kept your feet planted on that stage and singing. It
did, and I've been hooked ever since.
But now I have to ask, when you did the national anthem at the basketball game, the Knicks game, were they standing? Were they kneeling? Were you kneeling?
That's funny. My mom said to me before I did, she's like, you're not going to kneel, are you? I was like, no, Mom, I'm not going to kneel, although I do have a record to sell, so...
That's like I'm giving you...
Yeah, everybody was standing.
All right.
Which is funny because all the basketball, I'm 5'4", but all the basketball players are like twice my size. So standing, I look at some of the video now, and I see that I look like a midget compared to these giant, like gods standing behind me.
Well, by the way, you were standing on a basketball court. We're talking about the times that you were standing on Broadway stages and also some off-Broadway stages. We do want to remind people that you are now mostly concentrating on music rather than theater, and you have a new... I didn't even think they released EPs anymore, but they do. And yours is called Here and Gone.
Yes, I recorded this in Nashville, and I actually wrote all of these songs in Nashville. I've kind of found a little home there doing kind of Americana pop style writing, and that's out now in all stores, and I'm really proud of it. So yeah, we do EPs nowadays. Nobody does albums anymore unless you're like super, super, super famous and know that you're going to sell everything all at once. So it's good to give fans a little taste of something as you go along. So I'm basically just releasing singles and EPs right now, but I'm just constantly writing. I have so much music at this point that I want to release, so it's hard not to release a full album because I'm tempted to do it, but I want to just keep the flow and the fan engagement that way.
Well, but now your music is generally in a country pop vein?
It's not really country.
Okay.
Funny because I'm born and raised in New York City, so when I play it in New York, everyone thinks it sounds country. When I play it in Nashville, they're like, this isn't country at all. So we call it Americana. I don't like identifying myself as a country artist because it's not true to who I am, because I'm a New Yorker at heart. But it is, I mostly write pop music. The way that it's been arranged by my producer in Nashville gives it that little Americana twangy feel, as opposed to the electro pop type of feel that I've been used to writing in the past before I kind of found this niche, and I feel very comfortable there. Not to say that I'm not still doing the pop stuff. I'm basically doing both because I'm a Gemini, so I have to do different things.
And yet it's interesting that you didn't, I won't say gravitate, but you didn't move towards theatrical type songwriting, considering you were in aspects of Love and Les Mis and Parade, which are sort of old, well, Les Mis isn't really old school, but it's ballad old. You were in Follies, for God's sakes.
Yes, and I played the operetta singer.
Yeah. So, and yet,
the Wild Party is probably the poppiest show that I've ever been in, and that's pretty much just not pop.
Okay, now you brought it up. Well, I brought it up first, but now you brought it up. I've got to ask. I have very few enemies in my life. I do. That I know of. There's probably a million people planning.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but one of the enemies of me and this radio program is Mandy Patinkin. Ooh, that's Mandy Patinkin. Ooh. So he was in this wild party that you were in.
Yes. Why is he an enemy?
Oh, my God. More than a decade ago, we were going to do an interview with him. He was doing a nice thing. He was going to do a benefit for the Folksbiene Festival. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, the Folksbiene Theater Company. So we're live on the air, and I'm waiting for the call. He calls up, and it's like, hello, shalom, and I do my little intro, and he hears, I guess, my voice and the way I talk, and I probably said, God damn it, which I tend to do, God damn it, and he said, I'm not going to do this, and hangs up.
What?
He did this. We have the tape. This is in our archives, the son of a bitch.
God, I want to hear that tape. That's hysterical.
Yeah, and it was not a pre-taped thing. We had 15 minutes then that we were expecting to be filled with Patinkin-ness, and instead I cursed him for 15 minutes.
I need to hear that. That's hysterical.
So what I want to know is, there were stories about him going a little bit ape-ma-sugar, doing the wild party. So tell.
Okay. So Mandy never, ever bothered me. He was nothing but a sweetheart to me. I know that he and Toni Collette absolutely hated each other on stage. Oh my gosh, I probably should not be saying this on
Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
We have a same voice coach, and she actually told me that he went off his meds to do the wild party because he wanted to feel as crazy as a character. So that may have been why some were rubbed the wrong way. He was, the thing about he's such a brilliant actor. He just he wants to become the character that he's playing, and I totally get that. I have nothing bad to say about him because he was a sweetheart and supportive to me, and but I do know that some people had some issues, but I.
Yeah, him and Seth Rudetsky. Those are my mortal enemies. Everybody else.
Seth Rudetsky, all your enemies are people that I love.
And they're Jewish. What can I tell? Well,
right.
I know. Well, Seth is a whole other story.
What's due to you?
No, he's mad at what I guess we can talk about this. Dave, the producer of this radio program, actually went to school with Seth Rudetsky back in junior high and high school. So they knew each other. They've been in contact all these years. He said, finally he comes on the program after years of begging, pleading on, not exactly bended knees, sort of, bended knees with knee pads. We begged him to come on, so he finally comes on the show. We're having a wonderful time, but Dave asks him, I asked him a question that apparently was absolutely, completely off limits about his family. And he just exploded. Mostly off the air. He didn't really do it in the interview. But afterwards, he wrote to the press guy, and he's just been, persona non grata ever since. So, oops.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. You know what?
What?
You're both very big personalities, so maybe that...
Yeah, type A's.
Oh, no.
I'm more of a type Aleph, if you ask me. But
type Aleph, that's amazing.
Now, here's a question for you. Since we're talking about creepy, scary people, like me, and these are we're talking about.
I did not say that.
Well, I read that when you were doing Aunt Dan and Lemon.
Yeah.
I have to admit, a play that our producer hated. No offense. You were fine. He liked you, and he liked that you were naked, but the play, blech. But you had a stalker.
You either really loved it or really hated it.
Not a Wallace Shawn fan here, I have to admit. But okay. So, but you had a stalker in that show.
How did you know that?
Because you told it somewhere else on some other interview. I do my homework, goddammit.
Gosh, wow, you really do your homework. I don't even know if I ever said that on an interview, but I must have.
You must have, or actually, I was the stalker. I have to tell you.
There you go. I knew the voice was familiar.
You would see Payas going out the door just as you were emerging. So, how did you cope with, especially we talk now about what's coming out about
every... Oh my gosh, that's true. Yeah. I can't remember how it kind of died down. I mean, the show closed, but I basically, the guys in the cast walked me to a cab and put me in a cab and had me go home, made sure that, nobody followed me. It was definitely creepy. Yes.
Now, have you had, you're a beautiful young woman, and you were a young woman, sometimes naked in shows. Did you have Harvey Weinstein experiences or James Toback experience, that sort of thing?
Thankfully, in musical theater, that's usually not.
Because everybody's gay, yeah, right. Well, any butch lesbians who are playing too much. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. Yeah, no, I mean, I've actually been very lucky in the industry as far as that. And again, I am in musical theater, so I have been very lucky with that. As a woman in the world, I've experienced that. But in my business, not so much.
Well, good. I mean, here's the deal. Did you hear stories about people that are just coming out now? If you were in musical theater, everybody hears everything about everybody.
Right.
All the backstage, all the ushers, they know everything. And yet, hush, hush, don't say, don't that. And then 10 years later, boom, it becomes American, on every TV station. So were you hearing things about Kevin Spacey or these other people?
Not really, actually. No, not the stuff that's going on right now with these specific people. I have heard things in the past, and I actually can't even remember what it was, but and then it would come out and I'd be like, well, yeah, duh, But yeah, not with the people in particular who are being,
Okay. Now, let's talk about somebody who I hope is not creepy in real life, but can be creepy in his songs, which is kind of wonderful. You turned down, I think, a big opportunity to appear in one show, so you could do a Randy Newman show.
Oh, yes. Oh, I had, my dream after playing young Cosette in Les Miserables was, as an adult, to play Eponine one day. And I booked the national tour, and it was going to pay me a lot of money. And I also got offered the Randy Newman show, which wasn't going to pay me a whole lot of money, but it was to work with Randy Newman. And
this wasn't Faust, was it? Which show was this?
No, it's actually a show. It never made it to New York, which is really disappointing. It's called The Education of Randy Newman, and it basically is about, it's kind of a story of his life. And I played his first wife. And it was a great experience, and I think in the back of my mind I did know that at some point I wanted to take a break from doing musical theater to really focus on my recording career. It's really hard to do 8 shows a week to a recording career, so I chose to do the Randy Newman show because I wanted to work with someone that is in the business and I admire, and it was a really cool experience. He's a really cool guy. I was a vegan at the time, and he used to take the cast out to dinner and joke about how I used to cost him the most money because the vegan was getting the most food. But it was in Seattle, and everybody's a vegan in Seattle, so why not?
Oh, excellent. See, well, I don't just want to hear dirt about people. I don't want to hear just bad stories. I like hearing the nice things, too.
Oh, he's actually a really nice guy. So I have nothing bad to say about Randy at all. He's a sweetheart.
What about Wallace Shawn?
Oh my God, he's the cutest man in the world. And I've gotten to work with him 2 times or 3, I think just 2 times. Anton and
Well, you were in Threepenny Opera. Yeah.
Was that it? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think that was it. Wally is like, I don't even know what to do. He's just the most adorable human being. I can't, and just, he likes to pretend that he's not a nice person.
Somehow I
asked him
understand
once
that.
about a lyric in a song, and he's like, because I was like, is it really as dirty as I think it is? And he's like, I'm just not a nice person.
Yeah, no, I have to say the producer of the show, Dave, he saw that Threepenny Opera. No offense, he despised it, but the lyrics were filthy. They were intentionally disgusting, yeah.
Yeah, it had a reaction. Some people had that reaction.
Not that we have anything against filth and horror here, but it was like, although you were in that show, my God, with Cyndi Lauper and Ellen, you should pardon the expression,
they
coming.
called me and said, do you want to be in a show with Cyndi Lauper? I was like, what? Yeah.
So, tell us about Cyndi Lauper. Any great stories?
Oh, my God. She was like, my idol. Linda Ronstadt, those peeps are I literally do not get starstruck with anyone. When I first met her at the first rehearsal, I couldn't talk. I was like, I love you. Cyndi is very... Oh, I have a really funny Cyndi story, which I'll in a second. She's really, really sweet, and as kooky as she comes off, she is... she was so humble throughout the entire process because she had never done a Broadway show before, and she kept, kind of checking in with the rest of us in the cast, and she's like, am I doing this right? She was very insecure about it, and in such a sweet way. It was just checking in with all of us, and I remember her just, sitting with a guitar backstage and playing some of her music for us once, and I was like, this is just the coolest thing ever. But she does not like to be recognized, because who would if they were Cyndi Lauper? They would.
Well, if you don't want to be recognized, don't wear your hair and look like Cyndi Lauper.
Well, that's the thing. So she would always kind of walk outside with a hoodie on. She would walk outside looking like a bum. So I had an audition a couple of months after Threepenny Opera, and I'm walking out of the audition into the lobby of the building, and I see this homeless person curled up in a ball in the corner, and all of a sudden it says to me, I was like, oh my God, this homeless person's going to attack me.
It's your stalker again, yeah.
Couldn't even tell if it was male or female. It was just a bundle of homeless. So, oh my God. And all of a sudden here, Brooke, it's Cyndi. Oh my God, what are you doing? So she gave me a ride home in her limo.
There you go.
I thought she was a homeless person.
Wow. Now, also tell us, please, about Alan Cumming.
I love Alan.
He's a little freaky, he's a little funny, he seems like a cool dude.
He is absolutely the coolest dude ever. I remember us all partying Tony night, and it's 6 a.m. and he's still going, and I'm like, I can't keep my eyes open anymore. He has so much energy. It's like a child in an adult's body, and he just has such joy in everything that he does. And it was just inspiring working with someone like that, who is so talented and such an amazing actor, but doesn't take it too seriously. And it's not like he's somebody who parties and does drugs and
well, no, I've heard his parties can be pretty wild. Maybe not the Tony one, but I've heard they're a little they're out there.
Yeah, but he's not. But he is centered. There's something about him that he can handle it. I don't know, Scottish blood. I have no idea what it is, but he is just never going to go off the rails.
God willing.
Handle it. Yeah. He used to have parties up in the Club Coming in the dressing room, I think that's what he used to call it.
Oh, well, okay. Not even going to go there. But let me ask you, how do you keep yourself from going off the... you're around girls, around theater people, now you're around music people, drugs especially, touring. How do you not get into that? Or do you?
The one thing that I've had to be careful with is... how do you handle your anxiety? For me, it's just about falling asleep at night. You know what I mean? I remember doing a show once, and I was trying Ambien and Restryl. I was just very anxious, and I've never had a problem. I've never done anything drug-wise except smoke pot in high school, so that's never been an issue for me. But I think for a lot of theater performers, there's that we don't admit. There is something we have to be careful with, ways that we calm ourselves down, if it makes any sense.
No, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
By the way, we are not calm at all. We're excited having Brooke Moriber with us in the neighborhood. Remember, she has the EP out. It's called Here and Gone. You can find out more about it at her website, BrookeMoriber.com. BROOKE. So you think of the water and adding E on the end. Brooke Moriber, MORIBER.com. And I have to ask you a question about this there, Brooke. So, people of my faith, they came over on Ellis Island. They had to change their names, make their names sound less this, less Jewish than that. You had a name. What happened to Sonny? What the hell? Back when you started acting, you were Brooke Sonny Moriber.
I know, and it wasn't even a fake name. That was really the middle name that my parents gave me. My sister's name is Ivy Dawn, so I don't know, my parents were hippies or something, I have no idea. But yeah, I just needed to separate the name for theater versus my music career, so I just took it out for the music.
Also, so if you're doing theater again, what about when you're doing movies? Because you did a short movie last year.
Yes, I did. What did I use for that? I'm not even sure. I think it's mostly Brooke Sonny Moriber for film and TV stuff as well that I'm using, because that's basically what my theatrical representation uses. That's what's on my resume. But it's interesting. I have not been paying attention to that.
But you're in Nashville now, so most of the people around you can't spell, so you got to take a word out. I'm just kidding, just teasing. Well, by the way, so let me ask you. You always, every time anybody interviews you, the first person you go to in terms of being your idol and your inspiration is Linda Ronstadt. So first of all, why her, as opposed to a number of other singers? And then I want to talk about some other singers who influence you. But why specifically Linda Ronstadt?
Oh, my God, the voice. I grew up listening to her. I just remember the first time I ever heard her sing, and it's just, there's a tone in her voice that is so beautiful and expressive, and she doesn't even have to try. It's just this natural, gorgeous tone.
I've been told that about my voice.
No, yes, exactly.
Yes. When I sing the Shema, nothing like it.
Very soothing.
So also, and okay, some other people that we might expect, like Sia, I think you mentioned as an influence, and...
Absolutely.
Eddie Vedder.
Eddie Vedder.
Why Eddie Vedder?
I grew up on grunge music
Okay.
in high school, so that I was a very, very big Pearl Jam fan. His live performances are like no other. He doesn't give a shit. He gives it all out on stage, and that's why he's one of my idols, is because he just puts it all out there. Every performance is like his last.
Well, speaking of putting it all out there, as it were, do you protect your voice? Do you take voice lessons? Do you have exercises that you do?
I'm very, very good at warming up before I have a performance. I actually try to vocalize every morning when I get up, because you never know what's going to come up, and it's a mental thing for me. I like to feel like my voice is warm. But I feel like you can overtrain. One thing I love about Linda Ronstadt is that tone. You can't train that. So, there comes a point where people train too much and they lose their individuality. So when I train to strengthen, and I've been very lucky never to have any vocal problems, knock on wood. I don't think about protecting my voice when I'm on stage. I think about preparing it before I get on stage so that I don't do any damage. I make sure that it's warm.
Before I conduct services, I spend 8 minutes coughing up phlegm.
I love it.
Yeah, I have to do it. And then
the loogies.
Dulcet tones, all the loogies come out. It's fabulous. Now, let's a little bit about personal, because in all the interviews that I've seen with you and or read or watched on YouTube and stuff, haven't heard any bit about the personal life, which I can understand you want to keep to yourself. You have a dog?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had a dog.
Better than a dog.
Oh.
I have a fully litter box trained, free-range Holland Lop rabbit who is
rabbit!
Absolute love of my life. And anybody who wants to follow me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, if you want to see the cutest creature that roams the earth, you have to follow me if for any reason for that, because he is edible.
Oh, well, I hope not. That's wait a couple of years for that. Fatten him up a little more first. No, I'm kidding. But what about another kind of human or creature in your life, a partner person? I
have a husband with the same last name as yours.
No.
Yes, I do.
Wait a minute. You married a Jew?
I did.
Yes! Oh, my God. How did you meet him?
We actually have a very cute story. We met in high school. He's a few years older than me. I went to one of those underage clubs with my fake ID, and we dated for a summer. And then he left for college, and we broke up. And about 10 years later, I was doing a gig with my band, and he showed up, and the rest is history.
Oh, mit Mazel. I mean, mit Mazel, he was dating you when you were underage. We won't get into that. Wait, are you sure his name wasn't Roy Moore Solomon? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, my Lord.
So how do you have to travel a lot. How do you keep a long marriage, more than 10 years, Mazel Tov? What do you do? I mean, is absence
10 years? Oh, yeah, it is more than 10. Yeah.
Yeah, so does absence make the heart grow fonder, or how do you manage having that kind of career and having a marriage?
Honestly, he can come and visit me, but the rabbit can't. So that's the difficult one.
Oh, boy. If you ever get divorced, that thing's Hassenpfeffer. You know that.
No, I'm very lucky that he is so supportive of...
Does he travel to, or he can visit you, but what does he do?
He does come, he comes sometimes, he likes to travel, so he comes, along sometimes, but...
And what does he do?
He's a lawyer.
Oh, that's how you can do what you do for a career. I get it. Okay, good. And he's Jewish. You marrying a Jewish lawyer. If he has a PhD, is it doctor too, or just jurisprudence?
Oh, no, I know. Wouldn't that be the perfect scenario?
So what did your parents feel when you told them, Ma, Pa, marrying, someone of the tribe?
Well, I am of the tribe.
What?
I don't know that about me because I have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they think that that's not what we're supposed to look like.
Also, Moriber. So what is your family background?
I believe that my father's side is French because Moriber is like Morbier cheese.
Morbier
that's
cheese?
How I figured that.
Yeah.
Stinky cheese. My mother's side is from Odessa.
No, kid. So wait. Were you bat mitzvahed?
No, I don't. I actually didn't know that I was Jewish until I was 13 years old. I went to Episcopalian school, and I know the whole hymnal and the Lord's Prayer by heart. I went to church every single morning, so I didn't even realize it.
So at what moment did your parents say, "Hey, guess what"?
I mean, I knew I had family in Canada who we went there and would celebrate Passover. I knew it was kind of like half and half, but I thought it was mostly Christian. I didn't know how it worked. We celebrated Christmas. We had a Christmas tree and everything. So yeah, I just. My grandmother just kind of sat me down one day, and she's like, you're Jewish. I was like, really? That's so cool.
I got ripped the crucifix off your neck by that point, but everything else was fine. So do you celebrate anything at all now? How are you spiritual? Are you religious at all?
I'm spiritual, yeah. I am not religious. I am spiritual. I believe in the culture and keeping the culture going. I think that's important. But for me, I'm spiritually just more kind of take a little bit from everything.
Well, we have been taking bits and pieces of everything from the delightful Brooke Moriber. I'm going to remind you one more time, you can get her new EP, Here and Gone, as well as her first EP. It was called Free, and that's all at BrookeMoriber.com, BrookeMoriber, BrookeMoriber.com. Last question for you before we sadly have to let you go.
Before the last question, the other EP that you mentioned, Free, was actually called Fire, but I want to make, so I'm making that amendment to it. But
I'm sorry.
I had to take it off the internet because I signed a contract with a Sony distribution company. I'm going to be re-releasing it through that Sony distribution company. So, if you sign up to my website, you can get updates on when that's going to be released. We're doing a big music video for that as well, and also check out my other music videos on YouTube. They're pretty fun.
Well, Mazel Tov. By the way, Sony, that's as big as it gets. Mazel Tov.
Well, it's not a record deal yet. It's just a distribution contract, so...
All right, still, in this day and age, nobody gets record contracts anyway.
Oh, nobody does. You have to do it all yourself.
Well, let me ask you, speaking of doing it yourself, when you sit down and write a song, what is your process? Are you there with a guitar? Are you at a piano? Words first, music first, what?
It's different every time. I play the keys. So, sometimes I literally will have a song come to me in my sleep, and I sleep with, my iPhone near my bed so I can tape record before I forget it. And it's really annoying because I value my sleep very much, but I don't want to forget the song before I wake up.
Sure.
And sometimes it's awful when I play it back in the morning. I'm like, what am I thinking? And sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really glad I woke up and recorded this. In fact, one of the moments that I had where I came up with something in my sleep is the chorus for my song The Last Goodbye on the EP, which it's the second song on the EP, and it's one of my favorites on the EP. And basically almost the entire chorus is what came to me in my sleep. But sometimes I have an idea of what I want to write about, and I'll sit down at the keys and start playing some chords and then just kind of start singing over it. And hopefully it happens organically that way. I also do co-writes with other people, and that's always feels like a first date and getting naked in front of each other for the first time because you're kind of like be vulnerable and come up with stuff together. It's always really awkward at first, but I'm really enjoying doing co-writes lately, and you get to know each other very quickly, so the process is different every time.
Well, actually, one last thing. I'm going to ask one more question then. Not about getting naked in front of people, because we've both done that.
I know we've been talking about getting naked a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Well, but here's another question. You were doing a lot in Nashville. Are you living in Nashville now, or are you still a New Yorker?
No, I'm still a New Yorker. I can't leave.
I was going to ask, can you ever leave New York? It's expensive, it's going downhill, it's this and that, but it's still New York.
No, that's the thing. And I've actually thought about moving to Nashville or LA, because I spend a lot of time in LA as well, but I spend a lot of time in Nashville. I feel like I'm down there probably 40% of the time, and I could live in a much bigger place than I'm living in right now. Everything would be so much cheaper, but I'm born and raised here, and there's just something about New York City. I can't.
I will say wherever you are, whether it is New York, whether you're in Nashville, or, God forbid, Greeley, Colorado, wherever you find yourself, Brooke Moriber, we will be listening to you. We will be hoping that you do a bit more theater work. We're sorry that you kind of went away.
I haven't, yes, and I have not left it. I will come back. I just took a little break to work on my music, but I still have... My heart is still there as well, so I haven't forgotten you guys.
Oh, good. Well, we will never forget having Brooke Moriber in the neighborhood with us. We wish her much continued success with acting and music and marriage and everything else. Brooke Moriber. Oh, last question. What is your Hebrew name?
Zahava Bracha.
Zahava Bracha?
Yes.
What a beautiful name. Zahava Bracha, Brooke. Thank you, and shalom to you.
You as well.